What's going on, everybody? Kim Becker and Ryan Blackburn here with your weekly AMA for the Denver Nuggets, who dropped a big one last night. Ryan, what the heck happened?
Great question. I think that really just shows the value of Nikola Jokic, right? Where when he doesn't play, the rest of the team just kind of forgets how to shoot the basketball. It was pretty tough. Sometimes games like that just happen, but it wasn't like it was not just a little bit more than a coincidence. I think that Jokic just did not play.
What more does Malone have to see to switch up the bench, staggering like you suggested with Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah, this is one that I saw coming in. This is following up the podcast that I did last night, where basically what I said is that the only way that the Nuggets lineups without Nikola Jokic are going to be successful in the playoffs are if they play the following five guys: Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr. at the four, and then insert a big man here that Michael Malone trusts, whether it's Jeff Green or Thomas Bryant or Zeke Naji or Vlatko Cancar, one of those guys, maybe even Aaron Gordon if you're really feeling frisky. But I think that what Michael Malone has, what he's done so far this year, I think has been very focused on 9-man rotation, not cutting it down more than that, saving guys' energy until the playoffs, and knowing that the goal is larger than just winning regular season minutes. This Nuggets team knows that they can go to Aaron Gordon at the 5. They know that that's a thing. They tried it in this last game. It was a good thing that they did. I think it's going to show a lot of positivity in these next couple of games and in these next couple of playoff matchups that they're probably going to have. But I do think that most important thing for Denver is that they find ways to get Michael Porter Jr. more acclimated into playing with those bench lineups, playing with lineups without Nikola Jokic. He has been playing under about 30 minutes every single game. Very rare that he goes over 30. Very rare that he goes under 25 or so. He's been in that 25 to 30 range for most of the season. And I think that in the playoffs, the Nuggets are just going to need more from him. They're going to need more potent scoring because outside of Jokic and outside of Murray, there's not really another reliable guy that you can think of and say, yeah, that guy can absolutely get a bucket, especially in a playoff context where teams are really gearing in on locking guys up. So I think that Porter is going to have to play more. I think he's going to have to find more time without Nikola Jokic on the floor. And Michael Malone's probably not going to get to that during this regular season. It's going to have to be something that they do during the playoffs or not at all.
All right. Okay. Good stuff. This next one, if you are Michael Malone, what does practice focus on for these next few weeks? Also, in your opinion, how do we get AG back on track? So a two-part question here. We'll start with Michael Malone.
Yeah, I think so. Starting with Michael Malone, practice focus for these next couple of weeks is first and foremost, you got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
What the Nuggets have done in practice in this last week, they've actually played very few games over the course of this last week and a half or so. They've had some practice time. What they've done is they've done little to no live stuff, very little live, very little contact. What they're trying to do during this time is get everybody healthy, get everybody physically prepped for what should be a long playoff run is what they're hoping. That's just part of the calculus for when you have a veteran team that you trust. And I do think Michael Malone trusts this group. I think that's what he wants, is to be able to take the time a little bit, be able to kind of lay back on the physical aspects of coaching and like trying to get people really hyped up and focused and physical and things like that. Denver's all about execution. When they need to ratchet up the physicality, they have. They did it against Milwaukee. They did it against Philly when they needed to. Then obviously took their foot off the gas at the end of that game. But in general, I think the Nuggets are very good at a lot of the detail stuff when they ratchet it up. The most important thing in practice is just to rest, is just to find ways to connect, find ways to play different lineups, and maybe explore different combinations that you can try to employ during a playoff series. After that, Aaron Gordon, getting him back on track, that's a tough one. Like I think that Aaron has not looked athletic over the course of these last couple of weeks. I think that he hasn't looked spry. He hasn't looked like the normal athlete that he has been for much of the season. And I don't know what's going on. I think that there's a lot that has to go into getting him back on track, because there's like a lot of it's just tied to playing with Nikola Jokic, but there are times where Aaron just has to like put his shoulder into somebody and be willing to do that on a consistent basis. And he hasn't really done it. So hopefully they can get him to that place. Hopefully they can get him to a place where he's playing better defense, because I think that's where he suffered most, actually, is the defensive end of the floor. So hopefully they can get him back on track, but you got to get him invested in playing defense again.
Is it possible they're just being really conservative with him in these last few games in the regular season to save him for the postseason, or do you think this is something different?
Oh, absolutely. I think, honestly, I think what they've told everybody is that we basically have the one seed wrapped up, and they've
Yeah.
had it wrapped up for like the last 3 weeks. So let's lay back on the gas
Right.
pedal.
Yeah.
Let's come up for a breath of fresh air. Let's get ourselves mentally and physically ready for the playoffs. And part of that is just not going full bore during these final few games. Now, they had various moments where they did that, like against Milwaukee. But the most important thing for the Nuggets is that they just relax, understand that their goal is larger than just these individual games. Try to get better every single day that they can, but not necessarily in the ways the fans think. It's more of just like getting your body recovered, getting your mind recovered for what expects to be a very mentally and physically taxing playoff run.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. All right, Ryan. We'll keep on going here through several more questions before tonight's game. This next one, what do you think about Jokic staggering? I think that would solve a lot of problems in the second unit, but maybe not necessarily solve the problems of the overall way they're playing. I don't know.
Yeah, so one of the issues when you stagger Jokic, and this is something that the Nuggets have not really done. What they like to do with Jokic is play him for prolonged periods of time. That's 10 minutes or so in the first quarter, 7 minutes in the second quarter, 10 to 12 minutes in the third quarter, and then 6 to 8 minutes in the fourth. What they're trying to do there is they're trying to give him long runways to get as comfortable as in rhythm as possible, because Jokic, more than anybody, he's a rhythm player. He's somebody who wants to feel the rhythms of the game and isn't just going to like attack the brick wall like a Giannis does or a Joel Embiid does, looking to get fouls and things like that. His game is built more on like extending runs and things like that. So they haven't done it. Would it solve the problem? Absolutely. Jokic plays well with everybody, and
Yeah.
maybe there's something that Jokic kind of has to sacrifice in his own personal minutes, is that he's just trying to, if he tries to carry everybody else, then maybe the Nuggets can lift up those other minutes with 3 or even 4 other starters at once. They haven't done it though. It's something that I would personally consider trying. It's something that if I were Michael Malone, I would try to at least experiment with, but it's also just too late. Like,
Yeah.
he hasn't had time to get into that rhythm, to get into that rotation. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that they try next year,
Yeah.
but definitely not this year.
Doesn't seem like it's time to mess up any kind of groove. If it's not broken, don't fix it at this point, especially if we have a healthy Jokic. So makes sense on
Right.
that one. This next one from Sean. Let's talk about Vlatko. Why is he out of the rotation? I think maybe last night's game would have benefited from his passing and creativity. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, it certainly would have. I think this Nuggets team, they were very, I think, schemable last night, where the possessions that I was watching were where Murray was driving into the teeth of the defense. He would kick out to somebody. They would either shoot and miss, because everybody missed last night, or they would take a couple dribbles, realize there was nothing there, and then pass it back to Murray and have him create something else. That was him. It was Bruce Brown. Those guys, I think, actually did a pretty good job of breaking down the defense when they needed to, but there's just not a lot of creativity with that. So when you add in somebody like Vlatko, who could do some creation from that big man spot, from the 3, the 4, the 5, there's some benefit from that. So I think that Sean is he's on the right track here. I'm surprised that Vlatko has not been in the rotation. However, he did roll his ankle in practice on Wednesday. So it would not surprise me if one of the reasons why he wasn't out there at all was because he just wasn't really healthy and they didn't need to play him. And aggravating that ankle again, forcing it into a bad position where it's, instead of a grade 1 ankle sprain, it's something like a grade 2 or grade 3 where you're actually inhibiting playoff time. That would suck. Like, that would be horrible. So most important thing, as I've mentioned, get everybody healthy. Stay healthy for the playoffs. The game last night did not matter. It wasn't a situation where Denver was going to win because they shot 14% from 3. Like, it's just historically bad. So it's not a big deal. Denver's going to find a way. They will be fine. But going forward, I do agree that especially if Jokic isn't out there, Vlatko probably should be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, makes sense. All right. This next one from Troy. Why play Jamal Murray last night and sit Jokic only to rest Murray tonight? What's going on there?
Well, those two things are independent. I know that Nuggets fans, they want to see wins. They want to see guys playing together. For those guys, it's like I said, the goal for the end of this season is not just for wins. Denver's going to get enough by not trying at all. They are going to be just fine. Most important thing for Denver is to be healthy. Most important thing is to get certain things going in the same direction. I thought that Murray was pretty good last night offensively, doing some different things, shooting off the dribble, setting teammates up with some good playmaking. And he got that opportunity without Jokic. And I think he's going to need to do that consistently in the playoffs, especially in those non-Jokic minutes. So there's going to be opportunities there for him to like really grow from that experience, I think. Although he probably doesn't need to do that much. He's seen countless minutes without Jokic anyway. But Jokic specifically, it wasn't even really a plan. It was more just, hey, Jokic, we think he's questionable. He turns out he doesn't play. I don't think that Jokic is playing again tonight, so it's not like they're staggering those guys' minutes entirely, where Jokic is playing on Friday and Murray is not. Also, I think that there's something to be said about not showing the Suns anything at all, because you don't feel like there's no reason to give the Suns anything to scout. If you give them plenty of possessions of the Murray-Jokic two-man game to actually scout, that will make it harder to defeat them in the playoffs. So Denver, don't worry about the Suns. It is not a big deal.
Okay. That is a very, very good point. And I think just initially when we started this, I'm thinking like the Phoenix Suns, this is it. This is the matchup that we need to see, everybody out there for the playoffs. But no, this all makes a lot of sense. Yes, it's like the two top teams in the West, but it doesn't matter, like you said. And why give them anything to study off of for the postseason that could possibly hurt Denver and benefit Phoenix? So I agree with you. Nice. Okay, it'll be interesting to see if KD plays then for the Phoenix Suns, right? This next question, we've got two questions before we wrap this one up. Ryan, this one from Mike Shields. How much should we care about the bench going into the playoffs since the rotation shortens up so much?
That's a good one, because like we've talked about with a lot of these minutes, there are different combinations that Denver's tried. There are different lineups that they've wanted to go to, whether it's Murray with the bench or Porter with the bench or Gordon with the bench or KCP with the bench or Jokic with the bench. All of that is going to tighten up. The most important thing for the Nuggets is that they have 7 guys right now that I think you can trust. I think you can trust all 5 of the starters. They've been very good. I think you can trust Bruce Brown. He's coming into his own lately. I think you can trust Christian Brown, who's coming into his own lately. Some of the dunks that he threw down last night were really impressive. And he's having some great defensive moments against these big wings like Brandon Ingram, or he'll get an opportunity tonight to guard Devin Booker. There will be plenty of opportunities for him to really show up in these moments and see what he can do. And these are good opportunities to see, hey, is he going to be that level of player in the playoffs? Because I think he is, and I think the Nuggets think he is, and I think that all they need is 7.5 guys. They need 7 players that they really trust, and then you can fill in the gaps with other people, whether it's Jeff Green, whether it's Zeke Naji or Vlatko Cancar or Thomas Bryant, although that one is looking a little bit shaky. There are good ways for Denver to figure this out, and they don't necessarily need to be fully invested in the bench in order to win a title. I think the Warriors last year, there were times where the only guys that you could really trust were Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, those 3. Everybody else was, I think, flexible. Like even Klay Thompson was flexible. Jordan Poole, Gary Payton II, Nemanja Bjelica, all of these guys that they employed. Kevon Looney had a big one series, and then against the Nuggets, he couldn't play. He couldn't play at all. So there are a lot of details that as long as Denver has 3 or 4 guys that they're going to play 35 to 40 minutes a night, every single night, the rest of it is just filling in the gaps. And I think Bruce Brown could do that. I think Christian Brown can do that. And I think Jeff Green can do that. I don't think that it's been great the entire season, but he's playing better lately. So we're going to see. We're going to figure it out. But I don't think the Nuggets fans should be too focused on all of that.
Okay, well, I think I know the answer to this last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway so you can elaborate. This last one from April to wrap up this AMA. Can the Nuggets just turn on a switch for the playoffs?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. There is zero doubt in my mind. And I think Nuggets fans they've gone off the deep end in this one a couple times, where looking too strongly at the Pelicans or I don't know, like the Philadelphia 76ers C team, where they came back and Denver had already turned off their brain during that particular game. So I don't think that this is an issue. I think that the Nuggets are going to be just fine. I think that in the first round series, you're going to see a different version of Nikola Jokic, of Jamal Murray, of Michael Porter Jr. These guys are going to be locked in, focused. Aaron Gordon's another one who hasn't been really focused over the course of these last couple of months. He will be focused when it comes to game one. If he's not, then Denver has much larger issues. But I think that in general, this team knows what the goal is. They know what is expected of them, and they know how to get it done. The only question is going point A to point B. And I have zero reason to doubt that they can do that. They will do it. And it's just about Nuggets fans having the confidence and belief in their own team in order to get it done. Yep. I have the confidence. Nuggets fans, you got to get in line.
Hey, your confidence is very comforting, Ryan. So I appreciate it. And I assume that everybody else tuning in does as well. We thank you so much for your insight. As always, just 6 games left? 7? 6
games. 6 games.
Oh my gosh, sad. That makes me sad. That hurts my heart a little bit. But a good postseason run is what we're hoping for, and more AMA, more Nuggets content for sure coming at you guys. So make sure that you are following us right here at Mile High Sports. Make sure that you're following at NBA Blackburn, Ryan, so you can get all of the lowdown when it comes to the Denver Nuggets and the rest of the regular season heading into the playoffs. Exciting times, Ryan. Thank you so much.
I'm very excited. Thank you, Kim.